All right, we're going to go through a little bit of dome operations while we're inside the dome. I'm looking right now at the dome control box. It is off. This little switch right down here turns on the power. And that powers everything on the dome. Shutters, dome track. You can see the screen coming up. It says connecting to shutter. And in a minute, it should figure it out. System okay, so we're good. On the side of the box here is a Bluetooth connection that talks to the shutter control box over there. So when we send commands to like open the shutter or close, the Bluetooth from there and from here communicate and send the commands from the main control box here over to the shutter control box. On the side are two sensor switches. The top one here is the encoder, basically the tracking, and the bottom one's the home position. Those come into play over here. You'll see a reflector right here. This is the home reflector. When this light hits the home reflector, you can see green and orange lights. If I put my finger there, orange goes away. It means it's going to look for home. You don't need to worry about the lights, but basically when this sensor hits the reflector, it's in the home position. There is also a reflector down here, and right now we're blocking with this opening here. This light will shine through, hitting the reflector, and it basically counts. Opening, closed. These are essentially tick marks. That's the encoded part of things. That's how the dome knows where it's positioned. When it's home, right now we've got home defined as true north. So basically that shutter over here is in line with the telescope. So we just set it up that way. You can set north to be somewhere, or park position to be somewhere else. But north needs to point in this direction, and we set home to be in line with the north position as well. On the main screen here, there's a couple of things we can do. We can control the dome through control dome that basically can send it to home or the park position. I can control the shutters, so I can I started opening the upper shutter and then I stopped it halfway through. Need some light in here, but didn't want it all the way open. It's getting a little windy. But through here we can open the upper, close the upper, open the lower, close the lower. You cannot close the upper shutter unless the lower shutter is closed. So if I open the lower shutter all the way, I will not be able to close the upper shutter. So just keep that in mind. If you need to control the shutters without this box, you also have controls over here. So these are just button controls. As long as you hold them in one direction, they operate. So here's open. There we go. We're opening the upper shutter. I'm going to open the lower. And as soon as I let off the switch, it'll stop. And then I can close. And we've got limit switches. There's going to be one up there. It'll automatically cut off. So you can't open or close too much. The limit switches automatically cut it off. So here's the closed on the lower shutter. This one here is the open on the lower shutter. And then that one there is closed on the upper shutter. And the one way back there by the motor is fully open on the upper shutter. So over here at the main control box, other things that we can do, if we go back to the home screen, we can jog. So jog does, with the shutter, does just like we're talking about with those manual controls. I can, as long as I hold this, press this, there goes the upper shutter. If I release it, in a second it'll stop. And the same thing with the lower. Rotating the dome, we can manually do that through There's clockwise, counterclockwise. One thing too on the home position, since I've done some rotation, I'm not at home anymore. The little lot's here, but there's the reflector. The dome always searches for home in a clockwise fashion. So if I come back here to the screen and hit dome control and I say home, it's going to go till it hits the reflector, and there it stopped. So the only other thing while you're in the dome, there's an emergency stop. So if I press that, notice how the controls just went blank. To undo the emergency stop, twist it. So push it in, it locks, cuts everything. So if the dome's rotating and the shutter's moving, if something seems to be weird, just hit that. And then you can twist like that, and you'll see it's reconnecting to the shutter. There's one more thing I want to add here in a second. We're going to be setting up computer connections here in a moment. This right here on the side is where we connect in for computer. I'll plug a USB cable into this and then connect that into the computer. Once I do, then I should be able to control the dome, and this will all be set up. We're wrapping up installation here, but that's what communicates between the computer and the dome will be through that cable.